Hello, I've chosen to do my presentation on the great country of Austria, and I got the chance to study there over the summer, and I just fell in love with the place, and I thought you guys should hear a little bit about it. Alright, so starting off with the history of the flag, it is called the Austrian Triband, and it represents the Babenberg dynasty of the 13th century. So a little about the location. Here's Austria. It's kind of in the central part of Europe, surrounded by Germany, Italy, Switzerland, Slovenia, Croatia, Hungary, Slovakia, and the Czech Republic. So it touches many different kinds of countries. Attractions. The United Nations office headquarters is located in the capital of Austria, which is Vienna. The probably biggest attraction I would say would be the Alps mountain ranges, and there you can do anything from skiing, hiking, rafting, skydiving, base jumping, and basically anything that involves mountains or the outdoors. It's kind of like Bozeman, but a little more extreme. The famous Red Bull energy drink actually was invented in Austria, so that is a huge thing. And they have something called the Red Bull Ring, which is basically a motorsport track for different types of races. And then we have the Vienna Opera House, which I think is the most popular opera house in Europe, and it was built a couple thousand years ago, so it's very historic. And basically, all throughout Austria, you can find many different types of castles, and those are also a huge attraction for basically anybody that loves history. All right, moving on. So, key facts. Population of Austria is about 8.81 million as of 2017, so maybe it's a little more, a little less, but pretty spot on from there. It was founded in 1804. The GDP is 477.67 billion in US dollars, and that is of 2018, so pretty current. The square mileage is 32,383. The capital, like I said previously, is Vienna. Politically, they are a representative democratic republic, and the so-called president, like we have in the United States, is called the federal chancellor, and it pretty much works the same, just with different titles. Then history. In 1914, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife, nephew to Franz Joseph, who was the heir to the Austria-Hungarian throne. And this is so important because that's what started World War One. So, and then in 1939 to 1945, the Nazis occupied Austria, which is probably a huge part of their history because it shaped the formation of the country and kind of really hurt their economy and everything else. And after that, they had to rebuild their entire country, which was a huge process and problem. And then from post World War II, from 1945 to 1955, the Soviet forces liberated Vienna, and that was huge because then they could pretty much start their free country from there. And then in 1955, Austria becomes a free republic, which again is a big milestone. I mean, they just recently became democratic, so that's a major part of the country. And then in 1994, Austria joins the EU, which is huge for their economy and currency, as you'll learn later. Major religions, customs, and beliefs. So for customs, they are really big in the Lederhosens. And when I was over there, I was in Innsbruck, which is kind of in the central southern part of Austria. And that was actually a huge thing where most of the people that were really cultured in Austria wore these most of the time. You mostly find Lederhosens on Bavarian and Slavic people, which is kind of southeast of Austria. It roots back to the peasantry times, and it really kind of, like I said earlier, depends on the region, but mostly everybody in Austria wears these for certain holidays, mostly around Christmas time. And then for religion, they're actually, I would say probably 75% or more Roman Catholic, with the second biggest religion actually being non, which is very interesting. And then there's a little bit of Protestant, Muslim, and then there's some unlisted. So mostly just those three. And then languages. The language of Austria includes German, which is the official language, and lingua franca Austro-Bavarian, the main dialect outside Vorarlberg, is Alemannic, the main dialect in Vorarlberg, and several minority languages. So basically, the main language is German with many different kinds of dialects. When I was there, everybody spoke English for the most part, and that's how most of Western Europe was. But since they were taken over by the Nazis, they have a huge German influence through most of their culture and business setting, which we'll learn later. Sports and recreation. So, for sports, Austria produces the greatest alpine and Nordic skiers, just like here in Bozeman. And then the best spectating sports would be skiing, soccer, and motorsport. And basically, motorsport is Formula One racing, which I have a picture of. And basically anything on wheels that goes fast. And they also, for recreation, they're actually huge into dancing. And they host, I think, the world's biggest dance competition in Europe every year, which is a big thing. And all the other sports like hockey, which I said skiing, snowboarding, mostly winter sports, that they're really big into that since they're right in the Alps. Currency. Since they're in the EU, they follow the euro. And that's about it for that. Nothing special. Imports and exports. So as you can see here, their biggest import is electrical machinery equipment, and their biggest export is machinery, including computers. So I mean, they're very, very big into machinery. They're the 31st largest export economy, which means they have a negative trade balance. And their top export destinations are Germany, the US, Italy, Switzerland, and France. And the top import destinations are Germany, Italy, and Switzerland. So as you can see, Germany is their biggest export and import ally, which makes a lot of sense. Which brings it on to the economy. Like I said earlier, the GDP is 477.67 billion United States dollars. I mean, ever since they entered the EU, they have been on a rise. So you can see the EU has helped their economy tremendously. The unemployment is 5.5%, which is not horrible, but it's not great. It's kind of in level with the US. The economic growth, they are the 12th richest country, I think, in the world. And then in 2009, as you can see by the dip down right here, they hit a huge recession, just like in the United States, which had an inflation rate of 2.3%, which is actually not that bad. Written, oral, and nonverbal communication. All right, so they take personal titles very seriously, and first impressions mean a ton to them. They like their space, though. They're very into personal spaces, keeping your distances. They don't really like to be up in each other's face, like giving a kiss on the side of the cheek like you would in France is a huge no-no. Eye contact is also huge. And stuff like, I guess the only closeness you'll get to somebody would be shaking their hand, and that's it. They're very formal, and they enjoy their privacy. And for verbal, after 5 p.m., Monday and Thursday, you're not supposed to have communication with somebody. That's kind of their rest time, when they're off of work, they don't want to deal with work. And then on 4 p.m. on Fridays, it's the same thing. Don't expect to reach people. They're going to be out of the office doing whatever, mostly in the Alps, like here in Bozeman, going skiing or whatever. And then they're very formal, like I said earlier. It's extremely formal communication. They're very direct and reserved. Basically, there's really no room for joking in the office work. It's very serious. I mean, this is kind of like Germany. It's kind of the same thing. If anybody had Germany, they deal with the same types of things. And also, like Germany, they take World War II and the Holocaust very seriously. So, I mean, they don't like talking about it or bringing anything up like that. Like I said earlier, cultural differences would be their takeover by the Nazis, a huge thing. They don't like talking about it, which is their past. And besides the United States, their negotiation is very direct and business oriented. I mean, they probably still have fun, but they're not. There's really no. It's very serious. There's not a lot of great fun in the office workplace. Cultural insights. They're very straight to the point. Always serious. There's no funny business, like I said earlier. Um, Basically, tell them what they want to hear and nothing extra. Have a strict business hierarchy. So basically, everybody knows their place. There's no kind of wishy washy, what does this person do? Everybody has a single job, and that's their job to fill, which means they're very on point and they get stuff done correctly and well. And that is all. Thank you for listening.